joining in the discourse with me as we go conversational. Now, he's in the person of Mr. Yusho Aliu. I want to believe I got it this time correctly. You are an economist, an economic analyst, as well as an economist. Mr. Yusho, welcome aboard to the conversation this morning.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
That's right. Well, the proposed amendment of to the PIA seeks to, somewhat extend the subsidy regime to halt falling government revenue. I mean, the Senate President Ahmad Lawan had supported the amendment. He cited its crucial role in mitigating revenue decline. In fact, there has been, experts that have argued, extensively that the current PIA provisions may not effectively address, revenue leakages. Now, but let's take a look, into Nigeria's revenue status now and compare to previous years. It shows or it reveals that Nigeria's government revenue has experienced some fluctuations, right, in recent years. As of the first quarter of 2024, I mean, we saw the government's revenue decreasing, to 1,445 billion naira, down from 1,682 billion naira in the fourth quarter of 2023. Now, historically, the country's government revenue has also averaged 991.26 billion naira from 2010 to 2024. And with a record high of 1,837 billion naira in the third quarter of 2022. But in relations, with this, we have also seen a renowned professor, also come out to adding his voice to the need for the PIA to find a revisiting, and that it will indeed go a long way in ensuring that there is some levels of consolidation with the oil and gas, sector in Nigeria. Now, the point would be, how would this indeed, what do you see, first of all, from this move by the federal government, especially as looking into the PIA for consolidation of the oil and gas, sector?
The country is undergoing a lot of reforms in terms of revenue generation because without generating enough revenue, most of the deficit that existed in previous appropriations and forthcoming appropriation can be attended. It is good to put it in the right direction, to understand the perspective of PIA, the importance of PIA, and, and the relevance of PIA to the development of Nigerian economy, especially revenue generation. Right. Nigeria seemed to have got it wrong because we failed to diversify the economy, and that's why we are still dwindling. Either we come back to PIA or we go back to the existing tax laws, which are prominent in establishing certain revenue generated in an economy, which is sharing sometimes through joint tax board and other related agencies. But however, I think I have said it some time back when the issue of subsidy and end bad governance protest began. I said it that the president cannot in any way bring back subsidy because it is the parliamentary act that has gone with the subsidy. Like you rightly pointed out, it was signed into law in 2021, became effective in July 2022, and that was why in 2023 there has been changes in the operations of government, changes in the revenues of the government, and then we were having conflicting information from the NNPCL, meaning that the NNPCL declared profit. At the end of the day, the same NNPCL declared that it is being indebted to so many oil companies, which require a lot of intervention to stabilize the financial situation of the company, to also put it straight to Nigerians that the NNPCL cannot in any manner continue to attend to shortfalls and certain inconveniences related to financial deficits.
Right. Well, if I understand, your explanation correctly, and I want to put it out there so that the listener can also have a proper understanding. The idea for a Petroleum Industry Act was to, help Nigeria make more money, right, from its oil and gas,
to bring efficiency into the sector.
Beautiful. But after 2 years, it doesn't seem as though it has achieved its goals.
That is some of the approach we normally give to certain policies, because we don't look at the prospect. We only dwell on an issue. Buhari celebrated because it was after 45 years of attempting to bring that law into effect.
After 45?
After 45 years.
Wow.
Then Buhari succeeded in signing it into law with a lot of inconsistencies with regard to the operations of private liability company, that is the NNPCL, which is incorporated with the executive directors and management team, along with other private operators in the industry. Because if PIA is now telling Nigerians that yes, you can participate in oil and gas business,
right,
but there are terms and references to which you operate, the code of ethics which you have to abide by.
Yeah.
And even the hosting communities, there are certain roles which you have to play, especially oil producing state of Akwa Ibom, where you go from.
Right. Anyways, well, some of the challenges, might be the fact that big oil companies are leaving Nigeria, according to, a very renowned professor in a person of Professor Babaji Fowowe, saying that big oil companies are leaving. The law isn't attracting new investment. Nigeria isn't getting enough revenue from its oil and gas, and he had preferred some solutions, to this challenge. Now he says that the law needs to be changed, right, to attract more investment, to make Nigeria's oil and gas sector competitive globally, increase revenue for the government. But then what is being done at the moment is the fact that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed orders to make Nigeria's oil and gas sector more attractive to investors, reduce the cost, and timeline, for contract, right? But don't you think that as a next step, the federal government needs to focus on increasing revenue, from the petroleum sector? In simple terms, Nigeria's, petroleum law needs a makeover to help the country make more money from its oil and gas. Although, there are no possible straight-jacketed, answers to all of this. But then, how do you think that Nigeria's Petroleum Industry Act (PIA) can be amended, to achieve its intended, purpose of maximizing financial benefits for the federation? What aspects?
Before dwelling into that, I have to share my opinion with regard to oil companies departing Nigeria. It's obvious there are certain conditions that are required to make industries be in operations, your tax law, your administrative functions, and in fact, ease of doing business concept has to be clearly identified. But if we take that and then we now look at what Kashim Shettima is telling Nigerians after the United Nations General Assembly, attracting above $10 billion into Nigeria oil and gas company. So you now see an issue of concern there, and the issue here is virtually many investors want to invest in oil and gas because it is profitable. But Nigerian oil and gas production has a lot of limitations from the production of crude oil itself, the oil theft, the illegal refineries, the Dangote refinery. So even if you are coming to invest in Nigeria, you are not coming up to what Dangote has invested for domestic production. You have a challenge because it's a competition. Somebody has to compete with others in the business for efficiency, and if you cannot compete favorably with an existing investor, then that investor may likely become a perfect monopoly. And these monopolistic tendencies sometimes are required when there is good supervision and monitoring, because the efficiency is that now if NNPC as a private liability company cannot operate its refineries after spending above $20 billion in 10 years, and a single individual investor invested $19 to $20 billion in less than 7 years, and then have the most finest refinery on African subsoil, then we have a prospect. PIA will definitely bring more investment, because what we are expecting, I don't expect more foreign investors to come. What I'm expecting,
why?
Good, because for in the history of petroleum industry in Nigeria, it has been operated and maneuvered by foreign oil firms from the production zone to distribution. Do you understand?
Yeah, I get that.
So, but if we can have, if Shell Petroleum in their over 50 years operation in Nigeria cannot think of putting a refinery for rust. Do you understand?
I get that.
So I don't appreciate your operations if you cannot put what domestic economy is looking. And today, obviously, if Naira to crude deal is perfected, and Dangote also consider other factors as far as pricing is concerned, and then decide to operate with a normal profit, then definitely we are expecting efficiency. The PIA issue has to be with the contention with the federal government is facing, either to put more money to stabilize prices. But what we are saying here is, if you have an enterprise that is partly managed by an independent management along with other competitors, then what we are seeing is attitudinal change. Do you understand? Changing the act may be necessary, but what are those clauses that are critical to bring about perfection and sustainability of efficiency in the industry? Gas, for instance. Nigeria is a gas producing state. Nigeria is yet to perfect the average consumer index, where Nigerians in the rural areas are benefiting from that. And not only benefiting, look at Gaza, the Palestine, they don't produce anything, but the poorest of the poor in that community has access to the domestic gas for domestic use. So in Nigeria, what we need is, let us consolidate the gains that we have made so far from the PIA by having Dangote, by having NNPCL operating. So we now go back to the production, and then we now look at further engagement with the crude as a product. You know, crude to dollar appraisal loans is attached on everyone's head in Nigeria, because NNPC has already engaged a deal and collected over $3 billion, about $3 billion to our economy to assist the forex, which has not yielded any result. Do you understand? So these are some of the things that you now go, the limitation of NNPC as regard to our crude is very important.
And nobody's really indeed looking into the about 3 billion monies that's been injected to seeing where that is gone and why it's not affecting us in any ways. But anyways, there's something you mentioned earlier when you said that government through the NNPC should probably inject more monies, maybe with the Dangote refinery and all of that, to seeing how things can get better, especially when we talk about the price and all of that for Nigerians. Do you think that's another sort of subsidizing for Nigerians?
We don't have to put ourselves in trouble again. Do you understand? If Dangote is operating, the only thing is that what is the production cost and what is the profit margin that he can have as a Nigerian to assist the stability of prices in the economy. They can play that role.
Do you also think that this idea of the PIA has some connection, or has a way of impacting or influencing what is going on in terms of the NNPCL, Dangote, refinery issues about who is lifting oil or who is not lifting oil. Because just recently, the NNPCL had said, well, we are zoning ourselves out now. We won't be the only sole,
it
lifters.
Cannot be. It
Right.
cannot be. That's why
they're opening it for everybody to be a part of it.
Remember, it was my point
Right.
that I said there is no point for somebody who fails to maintain production in his own refineries and take over and take in charge and become in charge of a brand new refinery that is expected to bring certain but whatever arrangement you will have, look, Nigeria has regulatory agencies. NNPCL is not a regulatory agency. We have standard organization, we have consumer protection agency. These agencies must be proactive to check what Dangote is producing and to sit down with him and to also negotiate the price at which Nigerians should be buying from each angle of the nation, 360 degrees. And not only that, there is need for us to understand that if there should be efficiency, it's not an amendment of an act that will bring efficiency. It's adjustment in our attitude.
Okay.
Yes.
Attitudinal change.
Yes, that is what W.W. Rostow, a developmental economics, always emphasized. That for you to have the changes that is required for the development purposes, you have to change your own attitude. Dangote must change an attitude. NNPC must change an attitude. Government must change an attitude. Consumers must change an attitude. And this attitude must be properly guided based on the act, based on the existing laws, based on the operational modalities that market can perfect and bring stability in general price.
Right, the conversation is still trending right here, and we're still with Mr. Yusho Aliyu. He's an economic, analyst, and we're looking at the Petroleum Industry Act, addressing revenue challenges and sustainability. And in case you didn't know, right, there is a call to look into the Petroleum Industry Act to, enforcing it, as well as reshaping it or giving it some sort of reform so that we can have a facelift for the oil and gas sector of the economy. And as you well know, this sector also plays a very integral part in shaping even every other sector of within the Nigerian space. Well, you can join the conversation already. You can put your call through and let us know what you think. Do you think that the PIA reform would be the way forward to indeed closing loopholes within the oil sector and allowing for an open market system where everybody is entitled to being a part of the process in that sector? Well, you can as well give us a call 0907 353 0044 or the WhatsApp portal number, which is 0909 705 4450. Hello and good morning.
Good morning, my brother. I'm calling from Cuba.
Yeah, Elder Onajo, welcome aboard. Talk to us.
My greeting to your guest.
Yes, please.
The guest has speak. But the problem we have in Nigeria is the government wants NNPC to work. They have to dissolve NNPC.
Okay.
The cabal in NNPC can never allow whether reform or no reform. That law can never work. The cabal there. You know how they struggle with the Dangote before government go and rescue Dangote from the hand of them. Up to now, they are still finding a way to bring that industry down. For them to enable them to begin the import petrol from abroad. Most of them, they have refinery outside. They connive with the people and steal our crude oil. Go and refine it and come and sell it for us. One, this is refinery in Nigeria, they are not working. Go it. They are allocating crude oil to them from NNPC, from a petrol industry every time. Allocate crude oil to them. Where are their refineries? The refinery is not working, but they are allocating crude oil to them. Cabal, they are carrying this and go to abroad and refining, they are bringing it to sell it in cost price. Without dissolving NNPC.
Okay.
There's nothing, there's no law, there's no how you can do. Because those people, they are available there. They are in the government, they control the government indirectly. They are controlling the finance sector indirectly. You those timber and caliber, unless you remove their hand. There's no law can work
right.
there. Thank you
so
very much. God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
Right,
Thank
God
you.
bless Nigeria right there, Elder Onaja, all the way from Cuba. You too can bring your voice in. Remember that the two lines are open for you to call at this point in time, and let's have a worthy conversation talking about 0907 353 0044. The other number would be 0909 705 4450. Yes, and just to also bring to the limelight the fact that the president has signed orders to make the sector more attractive, right? But then there is a shared thought, right, that I would want us to somewhat focus on, and that would be from the place of what promises hold. Should we indeed adopt a reformed PIA, renew our minds and attitude, because you mentioned, an attitudinal change and all of that, especially in the place of promoting local content development, because that is yet another thing. And of course, when we talk local content and development, it comes about people, being a part of the oil sector in one way or the other, getting our refineries, back on its feet. But just before you bring your thoughts on this one, let's take this call. Hello and good morning.
Odwak.
Yes,
I'm
please.
Dan Atai. I'm calling from Apple here.
All right, Dan. All right, Honorable. Welcome aboard. Talk to us.
Thank you. You see, the laws are or could be effective in terms of the regulation of the petroleum industry. Without the law, you may not be able to prosecute. But the fact is that why is it that the indigenous refinery that we have, we don't want it to exist because of political bureaucracy? And we all know that this bureaucracy is an international one that have enslaved African continent, particularly the giant of Africa, which is Nigeria, over 4 decades. Can't we just give ourselves sense? The president can go ahead. Like he said, the other time he said he doesn't want to interfere between NPC and Dangote. But being the Minister of Petroleum, he cannot excuse himself from it, except he resigns. What we want now in this country is production, indigenous productivity and industrialization, and it is not difficult. These things are not rocket sciences. We can do them. It's a political way. If you are collecting IMF loan, collecting World Bank loan, and then you want to claim that you are rich and you are not industrialized, your capacity of production is zero, then you are a debtor.
All right.
To conclude, just like our electoral whatever in this country, we can actually be better. We can actually do without IMF, World Bank. We are very, very rich in this country, and we can do everything. Let's just enact or execute the political way, and that must come from Mr. President and his ministers. Thank you.
Thank you so much right there. Enact the political will, and that must come from Mr. President and his ministers. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, he has said quite a lot, in this regard.
Two basic issues that are attached to PIA.
Yeah.
It has to be well understood.
Okay.
The target of PIA is to enhance oil and gas security.
Oil and gas security?
Yes, for the nation. The second is to provide efficiency in the industry. That efficiency can only be challenged or operate under a perfect competition where you have investors. I am still of the opinion that I'm always not comfortable with oil producing state getting 13% derivation and cannot put up a world standard refinery to be owned by oil producing states. Are you getting it? This indigenous production, you can invest. We have scientists, we have oil and gas experts,
Right.
we have the market, and we have also the research institute. This oil and gas will remain a blessing for any nation that has it, because you only knows today's function of that product. Tomorrow may be a different function.
Yeah.
But research will prove that, and that is why we need to invest heavily in it. And whatever that PIA can take, it has to do with the prospect of the industry, how you can invest in research, how you can invest in development. I don't see it. I am seeing it beyond generated revenue that can be shared.
Right.
Are you getting it? We are by the removal of subsidy by the pronouncement. Now sharing formula has increased, but that increase has brought distortion to our forex stability, because a lot of tiers that are benefiting from this are subject to, as acclaimed by the CBN governor in the last MPC meeting, that they are being challenged anytime the sharing took place. Now you see a lot of price disturbances in the forex because of the functions that are not required. What do I mean? If we have functional refineries, if we have new investment in the industry, if we have new funds for development, you will have experts. Our experts are scattered all around the globe.
Do we have you mentioned if we have this, if we have that, if we have this.
Yes.
But do we have the enabling environment? Do we have the right tax laws that would indeed allow for that? I mean, you and I know what's going on with the Central Bank of Nigeria now. They raised the MPR again.
Yes, they raised
right. And so how is that going to indeed?
No, you see, that's why we are getting it wrong.
Right.
Fiscal measures, monetary measures are fundamental for monetary stability.
Okay.
But reforms is ongoing. But we don't need to rush into reforms without thoroughly putting on ground the structures we are looking for.
Okay. Yeah, reforms is ongoing, but we don't need to rush into it without putting out, the structure, the right foundation that will indeed support, the smooth sail of such reforms. Well, keep with us. Don't go away. Let's just go take a breather. We'll be right back in a short bit.
Eagles 102.3
and of services which include full engine repair, brakes and discs, lubrication, industrial spare parts fabrication, digital diagnosing, injector and rotor servicing, wheel balancing alignment, vulcanizing, spare parts of all cars, car checker, recovery of vehicles, AC servicing and repairs of all kinds of cars. You can visit us today at a state-of-the-art multi-digital workshop located at plot 1374, Cadastral Zone C16 along Julius Berger Road, Idu Industrial District, Abuja. You can also call us on 080-6433-3100.
For prohibition of trafficking in persons, NATIP, and funded by the Embassy of Denmark in Nigeria.
From Milky Way to Earth, Eagles 102.3 Abuja. You can connect with Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Welcome to our website, www.eaglesfm.com. Follow and engage with us now on Facebook,
Right, thank you for staying.
Twitter,
This is Eagles
TikTok,
102.3 FM Abuja.
Abuja.
Remember to follow us across social media platforms. We have a strong presence talking about YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Eagles FM Abuja. Now, whilst you're at it, do well to leave a comment, and that comment would indeed be spotlighted, for the global ears, to gain, understanding on. Right, well, we'll still have the phone lines open for you, so you can join the conversation already as we're talking about looking into a reform of the PIA meaning the Petroleum Industry Act, and quite a lot is in check in terms of the discourse. We have our guest Mr. Yashul Aliyu, and he's an economic analyst in the studio, putting his 2 cents out on that. But we'll see a couple of your messages, but then let's just very quickly go out there to get the messages. This one right here says, greetings UD and the guest in the studio. Greetings to you too. It says okay, so you didn't quite. Okay, Samuel, it should be Samuel. It is. It says, I want to borrow from the Hausa adage that says, if someone says he wants to give you clothes, you should first of all look at the one he is wearing. Right? The NNPCL that couldn't manage our existing refineries. Tell me how they can be able to supervise or regulate private refinery. I concur with the guest. Let the regulatory agencies wake up to their responsibilities. It is not the duty of NNPCL to regulate. Let the government overhaul the entire management of NNPCL. Thank you and have a great day, he says. You too. Right, I see Henry Oga from Suleja is saying, good morning, Mr. UD and your guest. Good morning. The oldest refinery in India was built in 11th December 1901, is still working. Who has done Nigeria this great damage? God has blessed us with everything, and we are wallowing in poverty and penury. Nigeria is a wonderful country. All right, Henry, appreciate that one from you right there. And Tekken B from Nasarawa State says he's listening, all the way from there. It says NNPC is a big problem. We have over the years, it was the same NNPCL issue that made a former president run after former CBN Governor Sanusi. It has sold crude oil in advance, claimed to inject the money in our economy, yet nothing to show. Spent billions fixing refineries, which remains dead. I expected its chairman to have resigned by now, having failed. Taken B Hundu is putting out that one out there. But yeah, the PIA. You've heard Nigerians already speak, right? But the PIA is, supposed to look into matters that concern, oil and gas. Yeah. But then there are also, other places of development of local refineries. And just as, the caller had called in to say that, look, what about looking into growing our local refineries? Remember, it asked that question. Now, of course, does it also allow for this time to allow an open market where everybody or people who have resources to want to invest in that sector to invest there with an understanding that they will not be shortchanged in whatsoever way?
NNPC cannot and has proven that it cannot make our refineries to work. If that is the scenario, then definitely we have to look at the cost effectiveness of maintaining these refineries for over 20 years of over $25 billion spent. Are you getting it?
Yes, please.
So, but unfortunately, my own submission may not be good to politicians. I see no reason why a president will be Minister of Petroleum.
Right.
If we have PIA in action, the attention of the president should go to what the system. Remember, if a president took an oath of office, he is regarded as commander-in-chief to provide security.
Yeah.
I want to see a situation where the president will use the chief security officer to bring security back to the system. All these investors we are trying to bring home. They are conscious of security, not just security physically, but security of their asset. We have agencies, the EFCC, the ICPC. All these are regulatory bodies that can checkmate the excesses of security default as far as financial transactions are concerned.
Right.
So, but the PIA, as it is, of course, it's not encouraging just a 1 year lifespan. We are thinking, what went wrong then? Who drafted it? At what level at which it has been scrutinized?
But it was celebrated at the time.
It was celebrated because people want to have new things to celebrate without knowing what to do with the new things.
So
Dangote started investing before PIA.
yeah,
Are you getting it?
okay.
Because he has ventured into business and he has looked around the world and he saw the potentials of the industry, and he now saw the market at which he can operate and abandon anything and continue with that. All our banks, financial institutions, they end up giving a lot of facilities to those importers, and that is why they were making huge profit. Do you understand? So now when it comes to operational modalities of how we can have that security that I have mentioned, security in oil and gas. Security in oil and gas has to do with the capacity to meet local demand.
Local demand.
Exactly.
Well, I'm glad that you made that conversation out
Yes.
there, because I mean the PIA mandates the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, corporation rather, to promote local content development, including the establishment of local refineries, which of course you
Yes.
said that NNPCL had woefully failed in that regard. But then it doesn't just stop there. In the place of refining and processing, the PIA or the Act also encourages some investment in refining and processing infrastructure, including modular refineries. And there's a place of fiscal, incentives, right, where the PIA also provides fiscal incentives such as tax holidays and reduced, royalties for investors in local refineries. And then finally, of course, the regulatory framework. The Act establishes a regulatory framework for the development and operation of local refineries, right? But then what do you think could have been the benefit, of the PIA if, well reformed and looked into? Because you had said that at the PIA that we have at this point in time, meaning that you'll be agreeing with Professor Fowolo, right, saying that that look, it is haphazardly made. It's like a new toy, but you don't know the manual to it, and it has some deficiencies. You call it discrepancies, right? If looked into, do you still think that we stand a chance, to getting it rightly, in the coming days? And then the place of diversification as well. Some are saying that, look, what if we don't have this oil anymore? What if it stops? What if there's no more there? What do you think will be the lot of Nigerians at the time?
There will be oil. There will be gas.
You're very sure.
Yeah,
you speak from a place of assurance.
Of course,
there will be oil.
The billions of metric tons available.
Right.
It's not for consumption of one day. Then we need the industry to exploit them for the current use. We have to, in economics, you discount future in certain extent because you don't know what in the next 30 years what they will use crude oil for.
Right.
When it was discovered, the Rockefeller in the United States were just putting it to light off a street, to light off their homes, not knowing that it is going to be used for automobile and even jet oil, including domestic kerosene. So research will show. Research, and that's why that is what I have more interest in the new PIA, even if it is to be established. The new PIA should look alternative to invest in education, to invest in research, so that the potential of gas, how we can use gas to convert a lot of challenges economically, right from our industrial commitment to domestic commitment. And notwithstanding, PIA as a document, do you understand, may have 1 million perspective. It depends on who is looking at the PIA.
Right.
A medical doctor, definitely what he will look inside PIA may be different from what an economics is looking for. And that is why this time around, Nigeria should give, the government should give professionals an opportunity to go through the PIA first. Professionals. All the use.
You mean industry professionals?
Yeah, Mr. President wants to convert the entire use in Abuja.
Yes.
This should be a topic to them.
Okay.
They should go they are in the universities, they are in different academic fora. They should take this and then they should give their submission on what they want to see. There is nothing wrong if we have PIA that will guarantee local content where we are more secured, because sometimes if you give some nationals an opportunity to operate, look at our Ajakuta with the Russian technology for over 20 years, for over 40 years, from 1970s, from 1980s to date. Ajakuta cannot be optimally used, and it was 98% completion, but the 2% was hijacked and what political issues came into being. So we have to redesign.
I'm particularly glad that you mentioned, even at Jalkuta. Doesn't it worry you that we have, certain promising industries that we've had from time past? Right? Even though they're still in existence, they're not being looked into to be revived, and there is none that is being built in this current time, whereby a future generation, say 20, 30 years from now, could also look back and say, okay, that was built in, are we indeed growing and gearing towards industrialization in this country?
Mr. Udi, a child that was born 30 years and died has witnessed non-performance for Ajakuta. A month ago, on 30th of July, I passed Ajakuta. I saw only a tiling company operating. Do you understand? So this is an iron and steel company that is behind the German success in terms of automobile industry and complex engineering construction works. Do you understand? So if we continue to look, we do not. Nobody spoke about our steel laws. Do you understand? Solid mineral content, but because petroleum industry is thriving and is giving politicians a lot of money to share every month. Now, with the removal of subsidy, I was among those that have called the attention of Nigerians that, look, gentlemen, subsidy is gone. So long as PIA is into effect, you cannot bring back subsidy, because the content that removes subsidy was contained in PIA. Therefore, if we are to succeed and to make changes in the operational modalities and also the social cost benefit of this industry to our local environment and to our local people, we have to also look beyond sharing of the revenues. That is why we are getting it wrong. And if you mention shortfall of revenue, and you hear that Nigeria is budgeting 30 trillion in Naira term, do you understand? You have to ask yourself the content of 30 trillion to an investment or an injection into an economy that has 240 million people. Do you understand? In critical infrastructure. This system, if properly managed, that revenue alone, do you understand? The revenue alone that is accrued to tiers of government, we are only speaking about 30 trillion of federal government budget. If you now make a summation of all 36 states and the FCT, what are you going to have at the end of the day, including local government? So it's a very big economy that has a lot of other challenges more than the PIA.
Right.
But the PIA is a player.
A key player.
It's a key player in that industry. But remember that Nigeria is about to invest heavily in gas exportation under AKK, Abuja, Ajakuta, Kaduna, Kano project, and it is ongoing. So if you put these complex issues of investment, and you now begin to understand why are we not succeeding in just refining PMS for you and I, you become very frustrated.
Right. I wouldn't want to become frustrated, Mr. Yeshua, and I wouldn't want you to be frustrated either. But yes, let's go to this message right here. But keep in mind, you can as well put that call through 0907-353-0044. I understand that the station is, I think, off at the point, but it's been put on, turn on again. I want you to check your, gadgets right there to be sure. Thank you, though, for the feedback. Now, we see a message from James. James says, good morning, UD, and your guest and our guest says, right, we are on now. The station is on. All right, that's fine. Thank you, Abel, for that one. So James goes on to saying, all the way from Silesia, there isn't anything wrong with the PIA, but the institutions and those who are overseeing the implementation, these institutions have shown to lack any form of accountability, transparency, and responsibility. The PIA was supposed to restart an era of efficient and effective governing institutions with clear, separate roles for the petroleum industry, establish a framework for the creation of a commercially oriented and profit-driven national petroleum company, and most importantly, promote transparency and accountability in the entirety of the petroleum industry. Let me ask, has the NNPC been transparent in its dealings till date? Do we have any actual figures as to what we consume as a nation as per petrol? Have the NNPC been transparent in its revenue generation with actual figures of earnings and expenditure? Have the NNPCL been accountable and transparent in its supposed subsidy deception? The problem isn't the act or the bill, but the institutions ranging from the Minister of Petroleum, who clearly has no idea what the roles of the office entails, to the NNPCL, who have shown to be all things wrong, to be all the things wrong with the nation. All right. James is actually giving us that right there, and he has asked some very salient questions, but we will not be able to go further. Mr. Yesho, thank you so much. But if you had a final, maybe one line in terms of a PIA and what you believe would be the outcome of it, what would it be, though?
My emphasis would be that government should provide PIA to the public. Right. And give a time frame at which each and every Nigerian and professional bodies will study the PIA and make recommendation whether it should be adjusted, and if it is to be adjusted, my own submission will be development of the industry. The prospect of the industry is more of concern than revenue.
Right. Yeah. The prospect of the industry is more of concern than revenue. Mr. Yesho, Leo, thank you for stepping into the studio. You are an economic analyst, and you have done justice to this one, and to each and every one of you that have also given your ears to the discourse this morning. Keep in mind that it doesn't end here. Across social media platforms, we have a strong presence, so get on there at Eagles FM Abuja, follow and let the conversation drive. Remember, the power is in the people, and politics is what we address. Tomorrow is yet another day, same time, same station. Until then, have a lovely day.